Steven Ruderman here with your Insomniac Lunatic Fringe Giants postgame show, and what a difference. What a difference selling three guys and punting on the season can do for a team. It has now been a tale of 3 seasons for the Giants after nearly 3 months of this team pressing and trying to hit home runs and just being unable to win games. The Giants and their offense, they have finally loosened up. They've come back to life. On Friday, they were able to win it 4-3 in 10 innings. Yesterday, they did get blown out 12-6. They came back from down 3-0 to take a lead early in the game. And today, they blew out the Metropolitans 12-4 to take the series at Queens. Just a great game all the way around in every facet that you could ask for. Jung-Hoo Lee, 4 for 4 today with a 9th inning double. Rafael Devers went 3 for 4, hitting an absolute 3-run bomb into the second deck and right in the 3rd inning. Elliot Ramos, 2 for 4, though he did strike out. Elliot Ramos, I said he's a modern-day Reggie Sanders. He's going to strike out. Casey Schmidt with 2 for 5. He had a 3-run home run on the top of the 9th inning. And Patrick Bailey got an RBI hit. That was the hit that put the Giants on the board in the top of the 3rd inning. He went 1 for 5 with a pair of RBIs. And the Giants with a nice 12-4 win. And you could even say that the best part of it was Carson Whisenhunt. So Whisenhunt was called up Monday to make his Major League debut against the Pirates. And Whisenhunt at one point was one of the Giants, not only the Giants' top prospects, but was considered a top 100 prospect in all Major League Baseball. He's really fallen off these last couple of years. The Giants called him up to make the start against the Pirates this past Monday at Oracle Park. And it wasn't awful. It wasn't great either. He was all right. 5 innings, 4 runs, 5 hits. He walked 2 and struck out 3. Today, he got his first big league win, going 5 1/3, giving up just 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 of them earned. He walked 2 and struck out 4. Jose Budo retired 5 men he faced in an inning and 2/3, giving up just 1 hit and striking out 3. Joey Lucchesi had to wiggle his way out of jam in the bottom of the 8th inning, and then Ryan Walker gave up 2 runs, 1 of them earned in the bottom of the 9th, and the Giants get back to 500 with a 12-4 win. But I think, it's just the truth. The Giants have been looser since the pressure's been taken off. Buster sold Tyler Rogers, Camilo Duvall, and Mike Yastrzemski. They're not really going for it this year anymore, and the pressure's been taken off, and they have looked like a much looser bunch at Citi Field. And it's really nice to see. And what you really want for this team at this point is to finish over 500 and then take that momentum going forward. Yesterday, Sam Lubin said on the Orange and Black Weekend Wrap that, he wanted to see more from Jung-Hoo Lee, and Lee got off to a tremendous start, but he's really slumped because he's just been trying to hit everything to right field. He's just become really pull happy for whatever reason. That's not who Jung-Hoo Lee really is as a hitter. And he's had a really good series thus far. He got a double last night. Today he went 4 for 4, spraying the ball to all fields just as he did when he got off to his great start back in April. The 4th hit a double out into the gap in left center field that he stretched into a double. So that's the Jung-Hoo Lee we want to see. Jung-Hoo Lee is an everyday guy. Jung-Hoo Lee is a legitimate starting Major League outfielder. I believe Jung-Hoo Lee can be an all-star. But we have got to see more of him spraying the ball to all fields and not trying to pull everything. And if we could see the Jung-Hoo Lee that we saw in April of this year, then he's going to be a pretty tough guy to get out going forward. It could be a real force to be reckoned with across baseball. It could really help the Giants going forward. I truly believe that. Jung-Hoo Lee's a very talented ball player. I really wanted the Giants to get him. I was really excited when the Giants got him. And I still am really excited to see what he can do for the Giants going forward if he can be that hitter that he's supposed to be. And this team has definitely been playing much better baseball. They jumped out to the 3-0 lead, and they had a real gut check when the Mets came back to tie the game. The Giants wasted Robbie Ray's 7-inning start on Friday, and the Mets came back to tie it, and it was a real gut check. Dominic Smith got the big hit against his old team in the ballpark, that the first major league ballpark he called home, Citi Field. He'd come up with the Mets in 2017. Even after falling behind on Pete Alonso's 3-run home run in the bottom of the first inning of Kai Tang yesterday, the Giants came back and took the lead. Now, granted, the Mets would win at 12-6, but it just showed that this is a much different Giants team that we have seen this week than that we've seen over the last close to 3 months. And then today, they just took it. They just took it to the Mets. 4 runs in the third. Jung-Hoo Lee starts off with a single, steals second, ball goes into center field and takes third. Patrick Bailey then singles him in. Giants get runners at first and second for Rafael Devers, who hits an absolute bomb into the second deck and right. That makes it 3-0. The Giants would put up another crooked number in the top of the fourth. A 3-run spot to be exact. A 3 spot to be exact. Casey Schmidt lined a base hit with 1 out. Jung-Hoo Lee singled up the middle to get him to third. Patrick Bailey was able to get Schmidt in as he reached on a fielder's choice. Grant McCray laid down a very sharp sacrifice bunt over to first that Pete Alonso would take to the bag. And then Elio Ramos hits a ball to the hold short. Francisco Lindor tries to make a jump throw against his momentum, but Ramos beats it out. Rafael Devers, fresh off the home run, he singles to right field. The Giants put up a 3 spot, and they take a 7-1 lead. The Giants would then score 5 more in the top of the ninth, and that's right. The Giants, 3 crooked numbers: a 4-run third inning, a 3-run fourth inning, and a 5-run ninth inning. As Elliot Ramos would hit his second hit of the game to right field, Devers walked. Chapman walked to load the bases. Dominic Smith took the hurt to his former team again, with a base hit to center field and not going to pair. Then Casey Schmidt hit a 3-run home run off the top of the wall in left center field. The Mets would score 2 runs in the bottom of the ninth off Ryan Walker. But just an overall very productive series for the Giants in all facets. Seeing the Giants offense bounce back from some gut checks. As I mentioned, they lost the lead on Friday, but still held on to win anyway. Yesterday, they fell behind early, came back to take the lead. And today just absolutely took it to the Mets. What was also encouraging was seeing Randy Rodriguez get the save on Friday. I think there's a good chance he's going to be the closer going forward, and he worked himself out of a really tough jam. It wasn't his fault. He had the Manfred runner at second base, but he was able to work himself out of a tough jam and threw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball to end it. It's looking like he's going to be the closer going forward, but this has now been a tale of 3 seasons for the Giants. The first 38 games when they went 24-14 and they just couldn't do anything wrong, and they were doing a little bit of everything, hitting home runs, hitting for contact, playing small ball, playing situational ball, getting guys on over and in, pitching, playing defense, and even stealing bases. And then from May 9th to this past Wednesday, when they just tried to hit home runs and were just pressing, and they just couldn't win games. And now over the last 3 days, as they close out the season, look to the future, give guys a look-see, and give guys auditions for future roles going forward. And of course, we were not surprised to see guys like like Luis Matos and Grant McCray called up. Grant McCray went 0-for-2, the pair of strikeouts on Friday. Yesterday, McCray got the big RBI single that gave the Giants the lead. It bounced off the wall in right field. I don't know if he could have had a double or not. I couldn't see whether he was watching a shot or whether he was running out of the box. But he went 2-for-4 yesterday, though he did make an error. McCray took an 0-for-3 today and made another error. And McCray's, we'll see what he's made of. What I didn't like from McCray was when he was called up last August and then had a great first week of September. He then's like, Jung-Hoo Lee and I and whoever else gets the other outfield job, we're going to be really dangerous next year. Leaving out his teammate, Elliot Ramos, who went to the All-Star game. And it's never a good look to just declare yourself an everyday guy before it's official. It's an especially bad look to throw your all-star teammate under the bus like that. And then the baseball gods gave him a little slice of humble pie as he went 0 for the next week. And he was called up for the first time this season this weekend. He went 2 for 9 overall. We'll see what Grant McCrae is made of. But if he's got to walk the walk if he wants to back up the talk. I'm not saying Grant McCrae is a bad guy. I've been around him. I haven't had any personal interactions, but he seems like a pretty easygoing guy. But I did not like what he did last year, basically declaring himself a Giants everyday outfielder and throwing his all-star teammate under the bus. And if you're going to make claims like that you're an everyday guy, and he didn't say, "Oh, I'm going to be an everyday guy." He said, "It's going to be we're going to be really dangerous next year with me and Jung-Hoo Lee and whoever else gets the starting outfield job out there." It's not a good look to do that and then go 0 for the next week. And it's especially, again, a bad look to throw your teammate who went to the All-Star game, Elliot Ramos, under the bus. That's not cool. So we'll see what McCrae is made out of. We did not see Luis Matos today. Willy Adames took an 0 for 5 with 2 strikeouts. Ramos had the hat trick yesterday. Devers had the hat trick on Friday. But Adames, who had a great July, has not had a great start to August thus far. Matt Chapman took an 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Dominic Smith went 1 for 5. Patrick Bailey's, I mentioned, 1 for 5. And then, I already mentioned Grant McCrae, 0 for 3. So the Giants take 2 of 3 from the Metropolitans. We'll go over some scores from the rest of the league. The Red Sox, who came into the All-Star break with a 10-game winning streak and then really stumbled out of the gate, they just swept the Astros, winning 6-1 this afternoon at Fenway Park. They've won 5 in a row now. They've pulled ahead of the Yankees and now have the first wild card in the American League. They've won 5 in a row. They are now 62-51. The Dodgers beat the Rays 3-0 at Steinbrenner Field. Yamamoto getting the win in that one to take the series. The Bristol game, the Speedway Classic, or whatever they're calling it, was supposed to be last night. It was raining throughout the day. They did the national anthem and did the lineups as the players lined up along the baselines. The Reds between first and second base, and the Braves between second and third. Then the game went into a rain delay for about an hour or two. Then they finally got underway, and then the rains came again in the first inning, and they suspended the game. The Braves end up winning the suspended game in Bristol 4-2. Eli White hit a pair of home runs for the Reds in that game. The Brewers once again blow out the Nationals 14-3 to sweep the Nationals in our nation's capital. Basically 3 blowouts in that series. The Cubs remain 2 games back. Justin Turner hit a 2-run walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth. The Cubs beat the Orioles 5-3. Can you believe the Marlins? They have swept the Yankees with a 7-3 win. And the Marlins, who were 16 games under 500 back on June 13th, when the Giants were 12 games over 500, are all the way up to 500 at 55-55. 2 teams in 2025, the Giants and Marlins, who've gone in complete opposite directions. The Giants were 14 games ahead of the Marlins on June 13th, and now they're tied. And yesterday we saw Jazz, because every single day in baseball we see mental mistakes, and we see this happen every day in our great game because the nerds are the ones running the teams who are not real baseball people, and they have shoved out the longtime baseball people who have given decades of their lives, their entire lives, to this great game. And so you see these kind of boneheaded base running mistakes every single day. Yesterday, we see Jazz Chisholm get doubled off first on a pop-up at the second. I mean, what the hell is going on for that to happen? We saw Aaron Boone yelling at his own first base coach. I don't know if I've ever seen a manager yell at one of his own coaches on camera. That's not generally a sign that things are going well when a manager's yelling at his own coaches on camera. Anyway, the Pirates beat the Rockies today 9-5 to salvage a game in that series at Coors Field. Of course, 2 bottom feeder teams. But it was an incredible Coors Field classic on Friday. The Pirates scored 9 runs in the top of the first inning before the Rockies even came to bat. And the Rockies scored 5 runs in the bottom of the ninth to win that game 17-16. Yesterday, the Pirates had a 4-0 lead. Paul Skeens was cruising through 5 innings, and then the Rockies scored 6 in the bottom of the 6th inning, and they would win that game. Diamondbacks beat the A's today 6-4 here in Sacramento, taking the final 2 of that series. Angels beat the White Sox down at the Big A in Anaheim 8-5. Padres take their series over the Cardinals with a 7-3 win. All 3 of the Cardinal runs coming in the top of the 9th inning. And then the Mariners and the Rangers. The Mariners won the first 2 games of the Big 4-game series in Seattle. J.P. Crawford hitting a 2-run walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth on Friday to win that, becoming the first Mariners shortstop to ever hit a walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth inning with the Mariners trailing. The Rangers won last night, but the Mariners with a 5-4 win today. Evans the winner. Jacob deGrom took the loss. Corey Seager and Adolis Garcia both hit their 16th home runs of the season for Texas. Polanco hit a home run for Seattle. So did Julio Rodriguez, as did J.P. Crawford, who hit the walk-off on Friday for Crawford. It was his 9th home run of the season. We'll take a look-see now at the standings. And we'll look at the wild card standings. And as you can see there, the Brewers, Dodgers, and Phillies lead their divisions. And right now, the Phillies lead their division by percentage points over the Mets. They are playing on Sunday Night Baseball right now against the Tigers. They are leading 1-0. That game is in the bottom of the 7th inning. The Cubs have the first wild card at 65-46, 3.5 up over the Mets, who have the second wild card at 63-49. The Mets are a game up over the Fathers, who have the third wild card at 62-50. And the Padres, the closest team to them is the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds losing 2 of 3 to the Braves. And the Reds, I mean, if anyone saw that game on Thursday between the Reds and the Braves, that was an incredible game at Great American Ballpark. It was 3-3 going into the 8th inning. The Braves scored 8 runs in the top of the 8th inning. The Reds opened up the inning by scoring 8 runs over 8 straight hits to tie the game. And then the Braves scored a run in the 10th and held on to win 12-11. That was a really tough loss for the Reds. They were able to bounce back with a 3-2 win Friday, but they dropped the series finale at the Bristol Speedway today. So they are now 4 back of the Padres. As you can see, the Giants and the Marlins both at 500. The Giants at 56-56. The Marlins at 55-55. Two teams, again, going in completely separate directions. The Giants were 14 games over 500 on June 13th. The Marlins that very same night were 16 games under 500. The Giants have fallen all the way down to 500. The Marlins have gotten all the way back up to 500. One team's going for it. One team has punted on the season. And spoiler alert, the team that's punted on the season is not the Miami Marlins. They're definitely going for it. I think it's a long shot at best for them, but the kind of run they've been on, anything's possible. It's actually the Marlins in 2006 were 20 games over 500, I think either at the end of May or the beginning of June, and then they actually got all the way. Went on a tear. That was the year Joe Girardi managed that team. They went on a tear and got all the way up to over 500 in September, and then I think they fell off and finished something like 78-84 or something like that. Let me look that one up. Yep, 78-84. I got it right. Cardinals have been knocked underneath 500. They're 56-57, 6.5 back, and the Diamondbacks 53-59, 9 back. Essentially, at the beginning of the year, we thought the National League was going to be like an historically strong league and possibly the best that the National League has been during the divisional era. Not the case. And until just a couple weeks ago, there were 10 teams over 500 in the National League. Now there are just 7 teams over 500. The 6 teams that hold the playoff spots: the Brewers, Dodgers, Phillies, Cubs, Mets, and Padres, and the Reds. In the American League, you can see the Red Sox have leapfrogged the Yankees to hold the first wild card spot, and they are now a game and a half ahead of the Yankees. The Yankees are just a half game ahead of the Mariners, who themselves are 2 games up on the Rangers. Mariners are 3 up on Cleveland, who are 56-55, 3.5 up on the Royals, who are 56-56, 5 up on the Rays, who are 55-58, 5 up on the Rays, who are 55-58, and 5.5 up on the Angels, who are 54-58, 7 up on the Twins, who are 52-59. But Twins, forget it. They're in full rebuild. They traded away practically their entire team at the deadline on Thursday. They're not going anywhere. Of course, one of the big themes in baseball this season, I've talked about it so many times, there has been 500 teams getting hot to get over 500, then collapsing to fall the way back to under 500, then getting hot again to get back to over 500. The Rangers, the Red Sox, they have been 2 of those teams this year. The Red Sox went on a run in June and then collapsed at the end of June, and then they had their 10-game winning streak going into the All-Star break, and then they stumbled out of the break, and now they are a season-high 11 games over 500. They've won 5 in a row, sweeping an Astros team that did a lot to add at the deadline. By the way, the Astros now just 2.5 games ahead of the Mariners in the American League West. And the American League is very weak this season. The Rangers, of course, were making a run. I think they were, 6 or 7 games over 500 a week ago, but they have fallen off a little bit. They lost, I think, 2 or 3 in Anaheim and end up going 2-5 on a crucial road trip. They're going to take on the Yankees starting tomorrow night at Globe Life Field in Arlington. So, they're facing a Yankees team that is going through all sorts of problems right now. So, we'll see if the Rangers can bounce back from a tough series in Seattle. And remember, folks, tiebreakers are not a thing anymore. It's head-to-head records. And the Rangers are 3. Wait. The Rangers have already lost the season series to the Mariners. I thought I knew the Rangers' record against the Mariners. They are... they have actually played their entire season series. They don't play each other anymore. The Rangers ended up going 3-10 against the Seattle Mariners this year. It'll be interesting to see how that wild card race plays out. The Mariners have been one of those teams, of course, too, that have gotten hot and have fallen off. They're not exactly the best team. I feel like they're better than Texas, though. I still feel like the Red Sox are playing over their heads, though we shall see. The Guardians are hanging in there. I feel like it's far from settled in the American League because the 3 teams that hold the wild cards right now, the Red Sox, Yankees, and Mariners, are all far from the best teams. It'll just be interesting to see how that wild card race plays out. In the National League, it was pretty much looking like a year ago before the Mets got hot that all 6 of the playoff teams were settled. But the Mets got hot and then beat out the Diamondbacks for the 3rd wild card on that epic day after the scheduled end of the regular season on Monday, September the 30th. Right now, it does seem like all 6 teams in the National League are settled, just one different from last year. The Brewers, Dodgers, Phillies, Mets, and Padres, who were in it last year, and the Cubs, who would be taking the place of the Braves, who were in it last year, but would have had a really rough season this year. The Cubs have the first wild card spot. It will be interesting to see. I just don't see any of these teams being vulnerable to collapsing. I thought maybe the Mets and Padres could, but both the Padres and the Mets added at the deadline, so I really don't see either team vulnerable to collapsing. Perhaps the Reds could be a dark horse with Tito Francona leading that group, but they're a young team, and if they don't go there this year, I think they'll definitely be in it next year. The Marlins right now, they've been quite a story. They are 6 back. I mean, if they keep playing the way they're playing, they could win close to 90 games. And it's going to take probably close to 90 wins to get into the playoffs in the National League. So don't be surprised if the Marlins make a run at it in September. We'll just have to see. So tomorrow, the Giants will continue the road trip with 3 in Pittsburgh against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Justin Verlander, who has definitely been pitching better as of late, got his first big league, that would be quite something in his 21st year. His first win as a Giant at long last, back on July 23rd in Atlanta. And then pitched decently on Tuesday night against the Pirates at Oracle Park. Verlander in that game went 5 innings, giving up 6 hits, 1 run, walking run, and striking out 7. He will make the start for the Giants tomorrow night in Pittsburgh. Taking the ball for the Pirates will be Johan Oviedo, who will be making his 2025 Major League debut. He has not pitched in the big leagues since 2023. So this will be a big start for the young man. And so he had missed all of last season due to Tommy John surgery. This is going to be his first start and appearance in the big leagues in 2 years. I understand it's a special night for the young man, but the Giants have got to take advantage of it and pounce on him early. And the Giants took 2 or 3 from the Mets. And they took 2 or 3 from a good team. They did a lot of that in April. When the Giants got off to their great start in April. They were kicking ass against good teams. And as I've mourned over the death of the 2025 Giants over the last few days, Wednesday I was just in shock, and it was surreal to think about it, just how quickly they collapsed from this team that held a playoff spot into a team that was selling off at the deadline in just a span of 19 days. And then it hit me as I did the Insomniac Lunatic Fringe trade deadline show Thursday with Kyle Foster that this needed to happen. It did. I was saying how during the Giants run earlier this season, how this team was not that much different of the teams from the last 4 years. That they were a mediocre to solid club. They were playing over their heads. I think it had everything to do with the fact that Farhan was gone and they wanted to stick it up his ass, which is absolutely understandable motivation. And totally motivation I can get 100% behind, just for the record. I compared them to the 2005 White Sox because they were a lot like the 2005 White Sox. The White Sox were far from the greatest team in 2005. They had several mediocre seasons before that, and then everything came together for the White Sox in 2005. And like the 2025 Giants, they did everything. They could hit home runs, they could hit for contact, play situational baseball, getting guys on over and in, play small ball, steal, pitch and play defense. They called it Aussie ball for their crazy but so lovable manager, Ozzie Guillen, who it is so wrong that he has not been able to manage in 13 years. If anyone deserves another shot to manage in this great game, it's Ozzie Guillen. Yes, he's a little crazy, but he has his players' backs. His players love him. He loves his players. And I say if the Giants look elsewhere after this season, I'm dead serious when I say this. Give Ozzie Guillen a chance. Ozzie is just a true old school baseball guy who loves this game. He's given his life to this game. And he just wants to win. He'll give it to an umpire, but he just wants to win. And I think it is criminal that no team has given Ozzie a chance since he managed the Marlins back in 2012. I think that is absolutely criminal. But for the White Sox, they had far from the best team. They had Paul Konerko, who was a great player. They had A.J. Przinsky, Joe Crede, Aaron Rowan, Jermaine Dye, Tadahito Iguchi, Juan Uribe. And of course, in the rotation, they had Mark Burley, Freddie Garcia, John Garland, Jose Contreras in the bullpen, Neil Kotz in the late great, Bobby Jenks. But everything just came together for them in 2005. And it was looking like that was going to be the case for the Giants here in 2025. The Giants had the pieces to not only go to the playoffs, but to win the whole thing. They truly did. But they just couldn't get it together after May 9th. They kept trying to hit home runs. And when Bob Melvin said after the game on Tuesday that we've had team meetings, that's when I knew. That's when I knew they were done. When they've had more than one team meeting and the fact that the team meetings were not helping, that's when I knew. And it just came to the point where Buster had to take a lot of things into consideration. The fact that the morale in the clubhouse had completely collapsed. The fact that the 6 teams that occupy playoff spots in the National League are just really good. And then you thought about the fact that then Buster kind of realized, and I'd been talking about on my show leading up to the deadline, that trying to win with this mediocre core, which the Giants have been trying to do these last 4 years since 2022, was never a viable long-term strategy. So yes, that is why this collapse, Giants fans, you can hate me all you want for this, but that is why this collapse needed to happen. Because the Giants finally needed to realize once and for all that this was not a winning core. This was a core over the last 4 years that could put together runs, it could sneak into the back door of the playoffs. In each of these last 4 seasons, every single one of them, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025, they've always been capable of putting things together and getting into the playoffs. Especially in 2023 when they were 13 games over 500 in July. And if they kept things going that year, I think they could have even been a threat to go all the way, to be honest. But you can't just rely on that year after year after year. When one, they're already not that good. And two, they're going to be getting old in a couple years anyway. Buster got it. And that is why he made the moves that he made to sell pieces off and start building the farm system. That is exactly what Buster needed to do. The Giants are truly finally going in a new direction after 4 years of trying to go all out with the mediocre core of players. And it is for the best that this collapse happened. I'm sorry, but it needed to happen. And to be honest, I would not be surprised at all if the Giants tease us and stay somewhat in it going into September. What you can just hope for is guys get a good look-see, that guys can establish themselves for future roles going forward, and that they finish over 500. The Giants have only had one winning season. Not only have they gone to the playoffs once in the last 9 years, they've only had one winning season in the last 9 years, and that was their 107-win season in 2021, which ironically was the worst thing that could have happened to them because the Giants were finally rebuilding in 2019, 2020, and 2021. And then they had the biggest fluke season in the history of the game. And I do truly believe that. The 2021 Giants were the biggest fluke team in the history of the game. And Farhan and company thought, well, we're in win now mode, I guess. We have the team to go forward. And then it just gave us 4 years of mediocre baseball. So Giants and Pirates. Game 1 of a 3-game series tomorrow night at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. First pitch will be at 3:40 Pacific, 6:40 in Pittsburgh. I'm Steven Ruderman for my boss, Lee Leonard at Sports Radio Service, because the Insomniac Lunatic Fringe is a production of Sports Radio Service. Thanks for watching. Have a good night, folks, and I will see you tomorrow.